Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're diving into a really tricky but super important part of the global economy. How in the world do you tax a company that operates everywhere at once? I mean, if you get it wrong, you end up with these massive international disputes. But if you get it right, well, there's a surprisingly smart solution.
So just imagine for a second. You've got a company that makes something in country A, but then it sells that thing through its own branch in country B. The price they set between those two internal divisions, that's called the transfer price, is what decides how much profit gets taxed in each country. And this is a huge deal. It can lead to companies paying way too much tax, or sometimes almost none at all.
So here's our roadmap. We'll start with the puzzle itself, then look at why trying to solve it alone usually backfires. After that, we'll get into the collaborative approach, the two-country handshake, and see the detailed blueprint that makes it work, how it looks in action, and why it all leads to some much-needed certainty. Okay, let's jump in.
Right, so this is what the experts call the transfer pricing challenge. And believe me, it takes up a ridiculous amount of time and money for both the companies and the tax authorities. It creates so much friction, often leading to these really expensive, dragged-out legal fights over who has the right to tax what. It's a massive headache for everyone involved.
Okay, so when you're faced with that kind of mess, one tempting solution for a country is to just make up its own rules, create what's called a unilateral safe harbor. It's an attempt to make things simple, but in a world as connected as ours, going it alone can backfire badly.
So what is a unilateral safe harbor? Well, it's basically one government drawing a line in the sand and saying, look, if you just report profits in this specific range for this activity, we promise we won't audit you. We'll just leave you alone. Sounds simple, right? And it is. But there is a huge catch.
And here's that catch. Because one country just made up its own rule without talking to anyone else, you get all kinds of chaos. If country A's safe number seems way too high to country B, well, the company gets slammed, taxed twice on the very same income. Or profits can just disappear into the cracks between the two different sets of rules. And sometimes a company can even get a lucky break, paying way less tax than it should under the arm's length principle, which is just the basic idea that prices inside a company should be what they'd be on the open market. This uncertainty just makes everything worse.
All right, so if going it alone is a recipe for disaster, what's the answer? Well, it's about shifting from a monologue, where one country is just talking at everyone, to a dialogue. It's about a proactive and really comprehensive agreement between two countries.
And that brings us to the bilateral safe harbor. This is that formal two-country handshake we were just talking about. It's an official deal, usually called a Memorandum of Understanding, or MOU, and it builds on tax treaties that already exist. The whole point is to get rid of all the guesswork and stop arguments before they even have a chance to start.
And the advantages here? Oh, they are crystal clear. This approach gives you predictability. It makes sure things are fair. It gets rid of that administrative nightmare for everybody. It's just a fantastic example of what can happen when you simply agree on the rules of the game before you start playing.
So, what makes these agreements so incredibly effective? It's how truly comprehensive they are. Seriously, we are not just talking about a simple percentage scribbled on a napkin here. We are talking about detailed, comprehensive blueprints that are designed to leave absolutely nothing to chance. Just look at all the things this Memorandum of Understanding has to cover. It's a truly comprehensive framework. But to give you a real feel for the level of detail we're talking about, let's just pick one of these and zoom in.
So a big question is, who actually gets to use this? I mean, can any old company just decide to opt in?
No way. The rules are incredibly strict about which companies, the qualifying enterprises, can even use this system. They have to perform very specific jobs, and not others. They can only take on limited, predefined risks. Everything is spelled out. This ensures the safe harbor is only for genuinely low-risk, straightforward cases, and it's that specificity that gives the whole agreement integrity and lets both countries trust the result.
Now, we've established these blueprints are comprehensive, but what's really clever is that they're not one-size-fits-all. They are precisely tailored for different business functions. Let me show you what I mean with a few examples.
Okay, check this out. For a low-risk manufacturer, its profit is calculated as a percentage of its total costs. That makes sense, right? But now look at a distributor. They're not making anything. They're buying and reselling. So for them, profit is calculated as a percentage of net sales. And then for R&D services, you're back to looking at costs again. It's this kind of smart, careful tailoring that makes the whole system work, because it actually reflects the economic reality of how each business operates.
All right, so we've gone through all this detail. the blueprint, the different types, but what does it all really add up to? What is the ultimate benefit here? Why does this matter so much?
Well, it all comes down to one crucial word: certainty. The whole point is to replace all that chaos and potential for conflict we talked about at the beginning with clarity and simplicity. For businesses that qualify, this is a huge relief. They know with legal certainty that if they follow these comprehensive rules, both countries will accept the outcome. End of story. No more fighting, no more surprise audits.
And this isn't just good for the companies. For governments, it's a game changer, especially for, developing countries that might not have massive resources for tax enforcement. This gives them an incredibly powerful and efficient tool to protect their tax base and ensure compliance, all without getting bogged down in endless legal battles.
So it really leaves you with a final thought, doesn't it? As our world gets more and more interconnected, maybe this blueprint for cooperation, this idea of getting together and creating a comprehensive, proactive agreement before there's a problem, maybe that's the future, not just for tax, but for solving all kinds of complex cross-border challenges. It's a big thought to end on. Thanks so much for watching.